my God. Chapter 1086, The Five Elders Planet. Coming into it, looking at the chapter itself, off back, just the name alone, I kind of thought that the five elders were from a different planet, which I still kind of think because of the names that were revealed inside this chapter. It was a lot of stuff going on, but we're back in the present time, which means hopefully we get to get back with the crew soon. But I'm loving where we're at right now and what we're doing. We start off with Vivi and Wappo on a ship as stowaways, and they're heading to Elja's kingdom, along with a few of the reporters that are on the phone with Morgans. We all know how Big News Morgans gets. Big News Morgans is basically flying over them, telling them just hang tight. I'm going to pick you guys up. Make it look like I'm doing a scoop, and you just sneak aboard. As we look around and see them, see the stowaways happening, we also see two more stowaways. Sabo and Bonnie are also stowaways, and we see that Sabo and Vivi are now wanted for on a manhunt by CP0, and Wappo believes that they're going to capture him as well because of what he knows. Bonnie is hungry. As we all know, Sabo just got almost destroyed and killed trying to save Cobra, as Cobra told him to go live and spread the word of the D to both Luffy and Vivi. We get a cutaway back to the five elders as they're all talking and discussing things that's going on. We get a call from somebody. While the call is coming through, we see that they talk about how Sabo is in a checkered fate because he's surrounded by nothing but people who have the D in their name. The person ended up calling the five elders is Im-sama. Im-sama tells the five elders that it's time to use Mother Flame. Mother Flame is a creation created by Dr. Vegapunk just inside of the beginning stage still, the testing phase. But it's time to use it. And they're going to target the Lucia Kingdom. The Lucia Kingdom is also the boat that Sabo was stowed away on as he is traveling towards there. This is all during the Marijar escape. Aim tells them to also retrieve Vivi at any means necessary. And by them, I mean the five Gorosei. We have their names now. We have one of them being the five Elder Planets Defense Science Warrior God, Saint J. Garcia Saturn. Then we have the five Elder Planet Justice Warrior God, Saint Topman Valkyrie. Then we also have the five Elder Planets Environmental Warrior God, Saint Marcus Mars. Followed by the five Elder Planets Finance Warrior God, Saint Ethan Byron V. Nusjiro. And then last but not least, we have the five Elder Planets Agriculture Warrior God, Saint Shepherd Jew Peter. They're all looking on as Im is telling them to do it. They want to question it first, but they have to follow Im-sama's orders to a T. Now we skip past a little bit. We skip to the kingdoms that are being rebellious towards the Marines, and we see the Marines trying their best to keep the peace. So what do? They release the serums. They release Doflamingo Seraph, Gekkomoria Seraph, and Crocodile Seraph are let loose to try to protect the peace and keep the people in check. As we all know that the Marines are being hunted down by pirates and anybody who's willing to do it because of the Cross Guild. So of course, releasing the Seraphs is good to have for backup. Mind you, this is all going on right now, and Sabo is still talking to Dragon and Eva, just telling him about what all happened. So they cut back, and Sabo tells Dragon and Eva that as soon as he docked at Lulusia Kingdom, mind you, remember, he was going there, and the five elders are planning to use Mother Flame on that island. As soon as he docked, the king and the princess of the kingdoms were both arrested as an ambush because they were waiting for them to return, because Lulusia Kingdom is a rebellious kingdom. It's part of one of those kingdoms that said, forget the world government, we're going to go on and fight the great fight for freedom. So, of course, once they realized that Sabo was on the ship, the kingdom looked over and noticed who he was. As they read the papers, the news line stated, Sabo wanted for death of King Nefertari Cobra. What? Wanted for the death? Wanted for the death of him? Of course, Sabo's being set up and being framed. We all know that already, though. But we go into it a little bit deep, and we see that the people who are rebelling against the nobles don't really know what Cobra stands for and how Cobra really isn't. He's a part of the family, the 20 family still because of his legacy, but at the same time, he's like that cool uncle who wants to go against the family. They look on at Sabo and notice he's part of the Revolutionary Army and all just go ballistics for him. They're cheering for him because they're all on a boat still. Mind you, the king and the princess were already arrested. So now Sabo, as a stowaway, once he got off, he realized that he was a hero. He was their hero, their savior, the light that they seen inside the darkness for them. Because he was seen as the person who stood up against the royal families and actually killed one of them. Sabo did not want to take that in at all. He didn't want to one bit have it, but he took it because you have to play by rules, and the rules are the person with the most has the most pieces wins. So Sabo couldn't do anything but just which is basically what Sabo did too as well because he chose not to tell the truth about what happened to Cobra, not to protect the government, but to gain more allies for the Revolutionary Army. Sabo then goes on to tell Dragon and Eva about the pitch black thing that was in the sky hovering over Lulusia Kingdom right right as they arrived to it. And how it came down from the sky and just took out the entire kingdom in a blink of an eye. Just like that it was gone. And Eva thinks to herself, makes a connection. Imu was one of the original 20 families. One of the original 20 families of the house of Nerona, as somebody was called Saint Imu of the house of Nerona. One of the first 20. Ivankov also states that it is an ability out there that grants somebody eternal youth. And that person out there in the world has no worries of death. Ivankov is putting inside his head right now, could Imu be the person who has eternal youth? Could this be the person who's been around for forever? That watched everything, that's been there almost as long as Zonisha? Could this person really be in charge of the 5 elders in the world government? And then they start thinking a little bit more about the thing that came from the sky. Could that actually be an ancient weapon? Could the ancient weapon, because we all know that the world poneglyphs were scattered by the original Nefertari queen, Lily. And she scattered all of the poneglyphs around the world just to make it hard for people to understand them and find out that no one man should have all this power. And then Dragon remembers, well, yeah, Robin definitely did say that they do exist. Ancient weapons are a thing that is out there. But he doesn't believe that Vegapunk would make anything like that. He really cannot see Vegapunk making such a weapon for the government. Such a dangerous weapon for the government. So, in my eyes, I believe that me alone, Vegapunk had to either be forced to make it or tricked into making it. Because Vegapunk is a person who loves technology, loves building things, just loves learning and creating new stuff. So could Vegapunk have been tricked? Did Vegapunk actually make this weapon out of his own free will? I don't think so. Or was he forced to make it? Make it or be destroyed? We are dealing with Im-sama here. And if Vegapunk is involved, he might have been forced to make this. Then we jump back to present day still. We're still here right now talking about everything and looking around at the Holy Land, where the celestial dragons have just been sentenced to death. Some Somebody in the celestial dragon family has been sentenced to death. Who could that be, and who could have the power to actually force a celestial dragon member to death? And this is something that has to stay under wraps because nobody knows that there's somebody over the celestial dragons. They think the celestial dragons are the end all be all, top tier people. But that's not the case. As we can clearly see here, that the former king of God Valley, are you ready for this? Saint Figurlin Garling, also the present day supreme commander of God's Knights. Figurland. Who else has that name other than Redhead Shanks? The connections are starting to come along now. Inside my head, I'm just thinking to myself, wow, red-haired Shanks only goes by Shanks and not his surname. Shanks' surname is Figurland. The supreme commander of God's Knights' name is Figurland. Their surname is Saint Figurland. We all know that, or have speculations that Shanks was royalty. Saint Figurland Garling is sentencing Saint Doquehonte. Milsgard is being sentenced to death for protecting fishmen. And Garland tells them, anyone who protects scum is lower than the scum that they try to protect. And the chapter ends right there. Oh my God. You gotta be kidding me. We seen he looks so powerful. Shanks's family member, I would say. Could be his father. Oh my God. We now know that Shanks or Shanks lookalike spoke to the five elders. I now believe that it had to have been a lookalike or a brother of Shanks. And Shanks, if it was Shanks, is only able to speak to the five elders because of the status of his father. The supreme commander of God's Knights, Saint Figurlin Garling. This chapter was something else. This chapter has so many questions that I have for it that I had before, may have been a little bit answered. Some of them definitely were. The main two that I have is still this. One, is Shanks really the one speaking to the five elders, or is it like a twin of his, a sibling, a relative, somebody that looks like Shanks that was able to speak? Because we all know the scar, the arm never showed up when he spoke to them. Also, my other question is, the five elders, they all have something to do with a planet or a planet-like, galaxy-like name. Could they really be either fragments from that planet in some shadow that he just creates to make them into what they are? Because we all know that they're beast. They all have to have a mythical Zoan type, which means if they do, we will now know of 13. I want to say 13 mythical Zoans inside of One Piece alone. I have so many questions now. Im Sama has to be around for so long to know the ancient weapons exist and could be using one of them. Or could have been using a modified version of it because of the testing phase that happened with Vegapunk and creating it. It's a lot of questions to ask inside here. My top two, of course, are still between Emu and Shanks' family, because we see what status they hold inside there. They're able to sentence celestial dragons to their death. What are some of your comments inside there? Make them down below. Put them inside the chat. I want to hear your thoughts about this. Either Shanks, Im Sama, or what's going on inside the world. We're back in the present day, moving forward. Things are getting picked up big time. See you guys next time for the next episode of 1216 Podcast. And please pick up some merch from our website, 1216grandfleet.com. Officially launched. We can't wait to see you guys there. More to come. We're working. We're grinding for you. Check out my homie 16 as well, as he drops everything that he can possibly drop review-wise to you guys on time out there. This is 12 signing off.